Hello, welcome back to Thirsty Thursday. It's, the day that we talk about the news, the marketing news of the week
Mhm.
and what we can learn from it. And this week we're back to the resident co-hosts of it after a long summer of many, many guest hosts. So let's launch into the stories. What do we have?
Yes, Susan. Well, let's start off with our regular segment that we like to kick off the top of the show with podcast wars. So we like to talk about what the latest news is in the world of podcasting. We've talked about some big acquisitions in the past that Amazon and Spotify had made. This time, we're going to talk about the next great podcast. It's the search for the next great podcast by iHeartRadio and Tongle. Tongle is a creators platform. We know iHeart is one of the major podcast producing publishing houses, we'll call them, production houses. So they are looking for the next great podcast. They did this last year and had 1,800 entrants. If you make it to the finals, they had 11 finalists last year. They will give you money to produce your pilot episode, and then we, the public, get to vote. I thought this is a very cool, cool way of finding some new hot talent out there that have a great idea, but maybe not the budget or the
Yeah,
know-how to get it done. Yeah, what do you think about this, Susan?
very cool. Very cool. You've got 24 hours to do this if you
Yeah,
if
it's
you
due
like.
tomorrow. It's due tomorrow, noon
PST.
Pacific on September 17th. Susan, so we have
Great.
24 hours to submit a great idea.
Yeah, so if that's up your street and you're thinking about podcasting, here you can
Mhm.
actually get in on some real podcast wars
Yeah,
and
very cool.
find your spot. Um, so next on the
Yes. So,
list,
oh,
what
sorry. I was
was?
going to say,
Yeah,
um, I was going to kick off because I really, Susan, was as someone who loves pop culture, Sunday and Monday were two very exciting evenings for me. Sunday night was the VMAs, the Video
yeah.
Music Awards, MTV Video Music Awards. Years ago, these used to be like the really crazy, over the top, controversial, more edgy kind of award show that we all love to watch. But
Mm,
that's not been the case for the past several years. MTV doesn't even play music videos anymore. But I felt this show had kind of some, 2002 vibes going on. I mean,
hmm.
during the pre-show, there was a scuffle between Conor McGregor and Machine Gun Kelly. Then, of course, Megan Fox looked like a modern day Pamela Anderson in her like see-through gown. But to open the show, we had the Queen herself, Madonna, who has perhaps is MTV's biggest star in its 40-year history. She opened the show saying "Happy 40th" to MTV, took her trench coat off, dressed as a dominatrix, a 64-year-old dominatrix. She turned around to walk away, and that's what got everybody tweeting the butt, the ass. What I love, people, and of course, people are mean. They're telling her, you're old, stop trying, all this kind of stuff. What I love is the response like, people tell me I should be aging gracefully. No, that is like, I'm not going to age. That's what you tell like the nice girl. Oh, just behave, age gracefully, fade into the woodwork. Screw you, says
Right.
Madonna. Look at my
Yeah.
new ass, and I'm going to show it off. Like I hope we have that confidence, Susan, one day.
I hope so. She's awesome. This is,
Yeah.
nobody has a right to say anything, and she's letting
No.
them know. So that's pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
Why don't you
Um,
talk to me about the Met Gala? Because I know you had lots of fun stuff to talk to us about
Yeah,
that.
there's quite a few amazing things that happen. I think to me the first thing that stood out was the fact that it's all sort of lots has changed since the last time, but we're all still holding our breath and waiting to see who wore what at the Met Gala, and so that was cool. I liked seeing that. I know we're gonna maybe we kick it off by talking about AOC and
Yeah.
her statement outfit. So I'm going to show it while you explain it real quick, Will.
Yeah, so she's the
So here.
congresswoman from somewhere in New York. She's very leftist for the Democratic Party, outspoken, confident on camera. She was invited to the Met, and she wore a dress with the words on it, "Tax the rich," which you're
Hmm.
going into a very privileged crowd of very rich celebrities and designers and fashion houses. So it takes a little bit of balls to wear that dress there. But it was some people were having fun with this, weren't they?
Yeah, the memes began immediately. So obviously this is a bold move, putting on a dress like this. As the article says here, it's sort of like an invitation, like a blank slate for all the meme makers. So people had fun with it. So you'll see lots of
Mhm.
messages here of different types, and the crowds sort of went wild with this whole thing. I think it's fun. I always enjoy a good meme, and I think it'd be
Hmm.
cool if AOC's team were to react to this a little bit and lean into it with the dress, like what Bernie Sanders did with the gloves and the mitts that
Yes.
he was wearing. So I think, if anyone's listening, which is probably no one, um, go lean into this.
Lean into the meme, reclaim the meme, AOC. That's great. Did you see Kim and who everybody thought was Kanye, but it was actually the Balenciaga designer whose name I
Yeah,
can't remember. Kim covered in all black from head to toe, not a bit of face showing. The man who had a very Kanye silhouette. It was the silhouette Kanye has been rocking, so everyone assumed it was Kanye with her.
here,
You saw
this.
that, eh, Susan? Yeah.
Yeah, we're sure. It's for those who are listening. This is on the screen right now. So yeah, this is her look. Here's the look in a bit more detail. And this was amazing. I think it was really interesting. There's so many layers to this, and I tend to sort of break out my popcorn and want to watch more, because the theme was that, America, like, how do you represent
Yeah.
America? And then she went with this t-shirt from head to toe look, which is, initially symbolic of like the comfort of a t-shirt, but I think it's so
Hmm.
far beyond that. Both she and Kanye, where they're like, are they together? Are they not? Is this coupling?
Yeah.
Is this uncoupling? They keep you guessing. They've been wearing this similar
Hmm.
sort of covered face visor look on a number of occasions leading up to this day. So I'm waiting to see what
Yeah.
comes out of it.
Well. So of course, I thought it was just she got us talking, right, and that was very cool. So on TikTok, and I wish I could remember who the TikToker was because I want to give him credit. Or no, sorry, it was her. So I give her credit. But she, before Kim came out and said this outfit is an homage to the T-shirt, the most American thing that you could wear, type of thing, to fit in with the theme Americana for the
Hmm.
Met. She was saying, even when you saw that image, even though you couldn't see the face or any skin on the body, you immediately knew that silhouette. You knew that was Kim Kardashian. The
Yeah.
same with the man beside her, who really wasn't Kanye, but he had that Kanye right now 2021 silhouette that Kanye has been rocking. So
Hmm.
right away, you don't see their faces, but you know from these iconic shapes who they are. And she said, "What's more American right now that we don't even have to see their face, but they represent." Like everyone in America immediately knows who they are. They are America 2021 right now. Like there was some kind of, and I was like, that's a
That's
really
right.
smart interpretation of that. So I like
Hmm.
that almost better than the T-shirt, Kim.
I think so. I think that's much better spin on what she was trying to do.
Hmm.
But yeah, I agree with you. This is brand. This is what brand looks like in this point in history, I guess. So I'm here for that story. Moving from there to staying in the Met Gala, the men. Will let's talk about some of the
Hmm.
fashions that men were sporting and why we thought some of it was cool. So I'll just run through some as you chat it out.
Yeah, well, we know obviously 10 years ago, you would see the women going for it with the themed look for the Met Gala. The men would be in a classic Gucci, Tom Ford, beautiful tuxedo, but very classic. But over the past several years, the men have been stepping it up more and more as you've seen in pop culture and music videos and fashion, that gender fluidity, men getting way more ornate and expressive with how they dress. And now the Met, it's all kind of coming to a boiling point. You had like Dan Levy, he was in a Jonathan J.W. Anderson crazy map of America, two men kissing type thing, puffy
Yeah,
sleeves for days. You had even Pete Davidson, the comedian from Saturday Night Live, was in a Tom Brown skirt. You had like little shorts. You had Lil Nas X, three outfits. It was really fun to see the men bring it and
here.
have a lot of fun. It's not just for the ladies anymore; it's for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, this bishop situation that Lil Nas X had going was making my life.
And then then C3PO armor, and then bodysuit. And that was I heard someone on E or one of the networks say like bodysuits were everywhere. Serena Williams was in a bodysuit. Bodysuits were the thing. Glittered Swarovski crystal bodysuits were a big theme there too. It seems
Right.
so.
This one
Yeah,
won the
very
day for
fun.
me, though. Regardless, I tend to
Yeah, it's
settle back
definitely out
down.
there.
So that's the Met Gala stories. From
Hmm.
there, we move on to from Kim and Kanye to another influential couple. Um, a couple actually who's voted Time's most influential 100. So no surprises here. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Um,
Hmm.
what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm here for that. I mean, from what they went through to leave the royal family to that explosive interview and all of
Yeah.
that sort of stuff, they're now finding their role and what they want to be doing. And what they want to be doing is working for organizations, for causes that change the world, using their celebrity for that. And time
Hmm.
is recognizing that right here. So yeah, I think yeah for sure put them on the list.
It's very cool. I think it's amazing from a communications and a marketing standpoint as well. They not only do the good, they show up with integrity, being seen to do that good, and I think they've
Mhm.
defined a voice for themselves and a purpose that really works for me. So I mean, this picture is very cool. Totally represents them, you know.
Yeah, don't you think it's interesting that normally it would be see how Harry's kind of holding on to her arm like that, which traditionally it would be the man and the woman
Yes,
holding to the man's arm, like the way Harry's resting on Meghan's. It's neat that the way it's like she's put in the forefront and he's the one holding onto her arm like that. I
I
think that's
agree.
maybe there's subtle, but it's interesting.
It's very cool. I love it. He's the arm candy, and that's
Yeah.
a statement in itself. So yeah, that was one of the stories that I think caught our eye. And on the subject of those two specific stories, whether it was Kim and Kanye or Harry and Meghan, I think this really is a great template to look at. And the way they communicate themselves, whether they're coupled or uncoupled or whatever it is, it's like they how to stay in the news, say
Mhm.
the right things and message properly. So I think that's really great. But from their will to some much more questionable,
Is this? Are we talking about Nicki Minaj right now? Is that who we're talking about?
I guess
Yeah, yeah. So,
questionable at this point.
yeah, I think you know. I think you know this story a little bit better than I do. So, why don't you
I
set
do.
this up here?
Yeah. So Nikki tweeted out with like some misinformation about how there's like side effects involving. If you look at today's headlines and say Nikki, you're gonna find 100 headlines which say testicle in it. So she tweeted out some wrong information. People started to get involved, and it was back and forth. Fauci got involved. There's a whole lot of what shall I say? A whole lot of influencer saying something off the top of her head, and then people were coming in hard at her, right? So here are some of the tweets showing on the screen um, from people, and then I think her. In the end, after all of this went a little bit all over the place, she did come back and say she's planning to get the vaccine because um, she's going to be touring and she's going to continue to move around, so she'll respect it. But I think this reminded me as well, Will, of a story from last week, which we didn't end up covering, but it was when Joe Rogan, the podcaster, had COVID. And about 5 days into it, he's like, he's feeling really great because he's using this particular kind of medicine, which is, again, not approved or allowed. So it raises the regulation point about people with these large audiences. We often say everyone's a publisher, right? But the problem
Yeah.
with everyone being a publisher is that sometimes this sort of information, like millions and millions of people are like, oh, Nikki said that works, or Joe said that works, and that
Yeah.
becomes problematic.
Well, look at that. She probably never thought when she tweeted that Fauci and the White House would be offering to give her a call to clarify this misinformation that she has in her head. But
Hmm.
she has like what 20 to 30 million followers on Instagram or on Twitter.
She
So
does, yeah, way
yeah,
more than any sort of any sort of government body for sure. So
yeah.
yeah, so that's the story there. And then I think now we're going to move on to like three tech giants and three things that
Hmm.
they are doing in the news. Maybe we'll kick it off with Facebook, i.e. Instagram, on this
Yes.
occasion. Hmm.
This was interesting. So, Facebook did some internal research on Instagram and its effect on the mental health of teens. This was supposed to be secret inside Facebook information only, while the Wall Street Journal got its hands on it. And of course, Mark Zuckerberg and other Facebook executives had to testify in front of Congress, the Senate, all about kind of the impact that Facebook and Instagram do have on the public. Well, this leaked internal study does show that Facebook itself knows that the effect Instagram is having on teens is way more than they said it has been. So basically, some of
That's right.
the I wrote down a few of the top notes. It was saying that like a slide from this presentation. They took a quote from the slide in this slide deck was that Instagram makes body image worse for 1 in 3 teen girls. Like that was a statement that was said in this presentation. They also
Hmm.
said that Instagram has been engineered towards greater social comparison than any other platform, right? So
Yeah.
TikTok, Facebook itself, Instagram is all about social comparison, the way it shows up the stuff that you should be looking at. And then
Yeah.
this was a little jarring too. In the survey, 13% of UK teens who were surveyed said that they have had suicidal thoughts that
Yeah.
they can trace back to something on Instagram that triggered them. 13%. So
Yeah.
that was kind of shocking too. So you can read if you go to the Wall Street Journal, I think it is a gated paper. You
Yeah.
might
It's a
get 1 or 2
paywall. Yeah.
articles. If you go there, you can read it all because it is actually really interesting. And this is information is taken from slides that were presented to executives.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder where this is going to go. Something's going to need to give. Like, someone has to go. Like, this leadership of Facebook has had no real ethical
Mm-hmm.
boundaries. There is no regulation around what they can and cannot do. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure where it's headed. But I guess, to counter that, a slightly more positive story,
Let's go
Will, and
positive. Yes.
let's do positive for a second. This time it's Salesforce. So after all this, an example of brands stepping into the political arena, I think it's really great. Salesforce offered to relocate their employees based in Texas and their families after that abortion law went into effect. So I believe like they have a fair amount of operations within Texas, and there's a few thousand, like 4 or 6,000 people who are there. So he tweeted saying, if you want to exit, we will help you, and that people should, really have possession of their own decisions and stuff. And then I think this is the third or fourth company that's starting to get involved
Mhm.
in this space. I believe it was Uber who started to pay the legal fees of the
Mhm.
drivers, because if you do actually drive someone to a clinic to get an abortion, you can be, sued, and you could be in trouble. So it's pretty hectic. It's archaic. It's very handmade still. Like there's parts of it which are like,
Mhm.
is this actually happening right now? And I'm glad to see that companies are stepping in the ring. The other one was Bumble. I think Bumble's getting involved in this as well. So,
Good. Good.
hmm,
All I have to say is, and I read an article recently about this, about how um, brands that are going to grab the headlines, that are going to be having impact, are the ones that are going to lead with empathy right now.
yeah,
Um, it's showing empathy, and I think this is exactly it. Good for Salesforce, and they've got all the headlines, and like everyone who's not a crazy pro-lifer is going to be like, good for you. Like, yes, there are
yes.
women who are going to be in awful situations there in the United States of America, and it's so
Hmm.
ridiculous. So yeah, good for you,
Yeah.
Salesforce.
Staying in the positive vibe, Canva is in the news today. They
You love
raised. I love
Canva.
Canva. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of the tool. I'm a big fan of the way they've grown. I'm a big fan of it all around. So Canva raised their latest round of funds, 200 million, which officially makes the valuation of Canva 40 billion. This is
Ooh.
an Australian woman-owned and run firm. Let me find her name here. Here we go. Melanie Perkins. And it started in 2012. So sometimes when you watch these things rise, like it's amazing. And I think my message to people right now on the Canva front is, sure, we all know it as a tool. It's a really good tool. It's responsive. It keeps improving as it goes, and that's great. But they're also worth watching from a marketing perspective, is my thinking.
Hmm.
This level of growth and this level of trust from the people you are selling to, and from the industry, really it's worth studying. So that's my goal, Will. I'm gonna dive down
Well,
into some Canva marketing.
you know what, you said this one earlier when we were talking this out, and I really liked it. Like, if you want to see a brand having impact on someone, you said that you love Canva, you use Canva all the time, so much so that you think in Canva slides now.
Yes, I do. I sometimes do. I'm like, ooh, that'll be a lot of text for that, and the point is going to get lost. I need a shorter sentence.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it really does. I mean, it started with one person saying design has got to be easier than this, and it can be made mainstream. And look where they got. That's pretty cool. I
That is
like
very
that.
cool. Good for
Yeah.
them.
So we have one last story to wind up, and this
Oh
one is
yes,
intellectual property drama.
yes, yes. So And because we're in Toronto, this is a semi-Toronto story as well. So if you saw Cara Delevingne, she's like an actress, a model. She's a British actress model. She's wearing this body armor by Dior, and the shirt says "Peg the Patriarchy." It caught my eye on Monday night because I'm like, "That's very cool." So this was at the Met Gala. She was wearing this. Like, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. I love that term, "Peg the Patriarchy." Like, stick it to the man. If you don't know what "Peg the Patriarchy" means, Google it. I don't want to get too explicit here. You can maybe figure it out. Anyways, so we are finding out that that term was created and trademarked in Canada only. You actually pointed that out to
Yes.
me when we were talking about it. Trademarked by a woman whose name is Luna Matatis.
Yeah.
She's a queer person of color who has a business here in Toronto, and she's got that all over T-shirts. Like, she coined this phrase basically as like a "stick it to the man" and that sort of thing type thing. Well, Dior used this, and it is trademarked. It was created by her, and people are saying that this is basically appropriation by the patriarchy. Like, Dior is like the establishment,
Mm-hmm.
and it's this woman, a queer woman of color, who came up with it, and she wasn't asked. They didn't ask her about it. She's reached out to them. She hasn't heard back from them. Maybe now, though, that it's getting a bit of news, they will actually.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it just is kind of, it's ironic almost that the term, it's meant to say "stick it to the establishment," and the establishment's now grabbed it and
Right.
used it. So yeah,
Yeah.
what do you think?
I think it's one of those things that I'm glad. I'm glad that there was an actual somebody took the effort to trademark it and they have it. Right now they're
Mm-hmm.
trying to, catch them out on the fact that it's Canadian. It's a Canadian trademark, but it's a global distribution product. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes. I think
Oh.
this is not the first. This is not the first one. In the past, shout out to Andrea Henry. She's talked to us about the phrase "black girl magic" and how the creator who coined it actually, in fact, does not own it because nothing was sold under the name of black girl magic. So it's this stuff is so fine printing and sometimes hard
Great.
to call. But I think the ethical part of it is what needs to come into it, like you said.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
Dior actually means what that phrase says, then they should realize what they did was appropriation, and they should reach out or say something to the woman. But I want to go back to that one last point before we do go, because I didn't realize that. But even though it's trademarked just in Canada, the phrase, she does sell it on T-shirts, like you said, which she sells internationally.
Yes,
So that gives her
e-commerce is global. Yeah.
somewhat of a little like planting the flag first,
Right.
even though she's not trademarked over in the United
In
States or
all the
something. So
places.
it's yeah,
Yeah, I think a little bit.
yeah.
So I think they were fighting about the United States thing, and the fact is, even if
Hmm.
it was trademarked in the United States, this would be the same problem. Like it would only be trademarked in the United States and Canada. So
Yeah.
potentially you could set it up for something in Europe and have the same
Hmm.
like loopholes, right? So yeah, it's interesting to see how this plays out. I think e-commerce is something that's not been fully worked into the legal system as far as
Hmm.
this sort of thing is concerned. So, I mean, obviously, for a sentence like this, it's like if you really believe it, you're back away and let it go, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
for
yeah,
sure, for sure.
right.
That's what, in the spirit of everything, they should say something and acknowledge that it was from her. Um, yeah, but honestly, it's, I love the phrase, like, "peg the
It's cool.
patriarchy." It's hilarious.
All right, so that's our roundup of the week, folks. Thank you for staying with us through the stories that caught our eye on the marketing
Mhm.
and entertainment front.
And if anyone has any stories out there that they want us to talk about, let us know. We're open to hearing any suggestions you might have.
Love it. All right, bye.
Bye, Susan.